Alright, so now we are going to move over to our thumbprint. And this is, again, a Craftool Pro P2611. Now, a thumbprint is basically an elongated pear shader. And I prefer them. I'll use the pear shader here, and all of these little pedals will get the pear shader just because they're big enough to, really. And I haven't bought a set of curved thumbprints. So on the thumbprints, especially on these flowers, I like to start up here in the middle. And work my way down each side on the middle pedal. And the reason being is sometimes, you know, you don't match the size of the thumbprint perfectly to each lobe. And instead of it looking like, you know, if I start here, this one walks over this one and it kind of gets rid of that middle line. And I don't like that look. And see, it stepped over right here, but it didn't step over too bad because you can still see all the impression. And then on these curved pedals, I start right here and work my way in. And on this one, you're gonna tilt it way back. And the point is, when you need to line your thumbprint up to your center to make sure everything flows right. And you don't have that much room right there, but you still want a good impression. So we've got this flower's thumbprint pear shade work done, and you can use a pear shader if you want to. I just don't like the I don't like having to walk if I don't have to. Trying to walk a thumbprint for me is a pain in the butt. I'll do it right here. I can see all that little chattering in there. And most people won't notice it, but I do, and it bugs the living crap out of me. Now that our flowers are done on the inside, I want to let it dry a bit more before I start doing my petal lifting. That way, I think it works better that way, but to each their own. I've seen some guys that do it soaking wet, but they do everything soaking wet sometimes. And when you do it really wet, if the leather's too wet, you won't get this nice burnishing in here. And for me, that's something that I just have to see whenever I'm working. So now we're going to start doing the leaves. We're going to leave this alone and let it just sit while we're working on our leaves, because I like to get my leaves and my flowers done first. That's the first thing I do on any tooling. So we're going to start with our middle vein. And we're going to take it all the way down. When you get to the end of these lines, start tapping a lot softer. Don't go at the same rate the whole way down, because if you do, you'll have this big wide bevel line, and when you get here, it'll just stop. A big wide bevel line that just stops. Now if you just taper it and let off the pressure, you get this nice taper right here, and it looks a lot better to me. I do the ones that I can see first, and then I just turn the whole pattern around and do the other ones. I can do it both lines easily. They're not super easy, but I've done it before, and I do it on huge patterns, but on anything that I can move around, I'll go ahead and just move it around. And see, taper these ones that are real close, they need to be tapered down to almost nothing. When I'm beveling, I like to run my finger. I like to get, in that channel of the cut and set it against my finger and use my finger as basically where it needs to go, where the stamp needs to stay. So every time I hit it, it's going down, but it's coming back up to that set position. That way you're not getting stuck. You're not hitting the beveler end and it's dragging, and it makes for cleaner bevel lines. If you're not perfect right off the bat, don't freak out. This stuff is hard. It takes a lot of time to get to where you understand what's going on. So now I'm done beveling my stems and the leaves. I'm going to go through and use my leaf liner, and it's a Craft Tool Pro, same as that beveler was, by the way. The leaf liner is a B2076. And how we use this tool is we just put it in that bevel line and tilt it back. You don't want to make a full impression, you want to make a impression like that. You don't ever want to see the outside on anything in here, really. And it just gives it some extra definition. Whenever you antique it, it will really stand out. Alright, so we've got the leaf liner down on everything. And now I'm going to move back over to my big thumbprint. I like to use my thumbprint pretty much last. I mean, over here, I'm going to go through and bevel these lines, you know, and put my stops and everything in. But I put my thumbprint on after I've center shaded, after I've freaking used my cam shaders, because it makes everything fade together and fade in and out real pretty, I think. And I like to angle these as I'm doing it. You know, up here the angle's really steep and it kind of evens out down here. And the reason I do that is, you know, on a leaf, I've seen people do them straight in. I don't like that. It doesn't give the leaf any perception. You know, you don't perceive that it's turning at all. You don't perceive that the leaf's actually moving. If you go straight in, it looks like, okay, well, it's standing perfectly still. Well, the leaves don't stand perfectly still, and especially this leaf, you know, all these leaves, they're curved, they're not straight. And you know, over here where you don't actually have that little lobe to look at, just guesstimate. You know, on the other side, yeah, they're pretty much right on top of each other. So on this side, they're going to be pretty much right on top of each other. So let's come over here, and we're just going to guesstimate. So you're going to come up here and there you go. When this is all beveled, it'll look like that leaf's actually going way up under them. Another thing about turning them while you're going up the leaf is usually towards the tip of the leaf, the lobes tend to get a little bit bigger, and then right here at the bottom of the leaf, they're the biggest. Well, when you start angling them, you can take care of that space in between them quite a bit by lengthening it out instead of coming straight in, you know, straight in, that'd be a big old gap in between those, but we can kind of get rid of that gap by playing them around each other. Let me see who my dog's barking at.